tell you what, this week I don't want to hear about dress rehearsals. I want to hear about two events that are going to be taken totally seriously. Not one, two. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The preseason game, that's on a schedule. That's against the Bills. But 2 days earlier, there's going to be an organized practice between the Steelers and Bills, also at Acrisure Stadium. And that one, Mike Tomlin has already made known, and this was weeks ago before it seemed vital, is going to focus on special teams. Now, when we talk about special teams as related to the preseason opener the other night against the Texans, the first thing that's going to come to mind is that Quez Watkins needs to be absolutely nowhere near any punt return. Honestly, not sure what he was doing out there in the first place, since it's not really his thing, and the whole operation already knows that Calvin Austin is going to be the punt returner. But then let's make that the beacon to guide the way for the way this whole week needs to go. Here's how I feel, and I did not expect to be feeling this strongly about it, but if that exhibition the other night is going to be taken to mean anything at all, it should mean this. That middle game on the preseason schedule needs to be a lot more than just a routine dress rehearsal. Before the preseason went from 4 games to 3, there was a nice little build-up that you could utilize between games 2 and 3, and then, of course, game 4, a.k.a. the Charlotte game, would be the one where you'd sit everybody the same way you'd sit them in the first one. Well, things have changed. First off, they've changed in the obvious sense that there's just less preseason in general. And second, that thing the other night happened. And that can't happen again, because the next time it would happen, in all likelihood, would be in the first real game in Atlanta. So let me share with you what I mean by this specifically. If Austin's out there returning punts, and he does that, you've at least exposed something. You've got something real here. Get him out there. Do what you're going to do in the games. Mike Tomlin's already made clear that Russell Wilson's going to start. Wait, check that. He said Wilson's going to play. He hasn't said that he's going to start. Maybe he'll say something to that effect tomorrow. But that's what's needed. Get him out there. Get him out there. Doesn't mean they have to be out there for, the first half or whatever, but get them out there, because you're not going to use them. And you know this. You're not going to use them in the third one. You're not going to use your main guys in the third preseason game. There are too many things that are too different from last season, too many moving parts, and still, by the way, too many unknowns at too many positions to be acting like, this doesn't mean anything. Of course, it doesn't mean anything in terms of the standings. It doesn't mean anything. Houston won, yay. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. But it does mean you're not ready. And the only way to get ready is to get ready for real. That won't happen in isolation in Latrobe. And I'll say it again, that won't happen in week 3 of the preseason. It's got to happen this week. And the only way for it to happen is to get your guys out there. It also means to get your guys where they're going to go. It's getting a little bit dark outside to be playing around with positional battles or holding veterans out there instead of rookies just because they're rookies. Specific example, number 3. Zach Frazier is going to be the center ahead of Nate Herbig. I've been saying that all summer long. I've never changed on that, and I sure didn't change after watching 2 botched snaps or 2 poorly received snaps by Justin Fields. However it is that you want to assign the blame on that, doesn't matter. The snaps didn't connect. Also, and more important, Frazier was really good. I watched the game a second time. Frazier was solid. He was borderline boring, which is exactly what you want out of that position. Great, this is the week. Don't worry about handing anybody this or sending this kind of message or whatever. Put your football players on the football field. Now, Troy Fautanu has a knee injury, and he's not going to play this week against Buffalo. But here again, as I've been sharing with you for a long time now, way before camp started, they like Dan Moore at left tackle, and as a result, they've been leaning all along to keeping Broderick Jones at right tackle. Okay, great. Do that. Not just this week, but set it up so you start the season that way. Get the offense out there with Wilson at the helm and let them roll a little bit. It's a whole new playbook. It's a whole new feel. And it's new personnel at the most important position. Now add on to that Wilson hasn't even had that much time with the offense in Latrobe. You see where I'm going here. There's some urgency. Defensively, it's really not much different. Get your Minkah Fitzpatrick, your TJ Watt, your Cam Hayward. Get everybody. Get them out there. Get them out there. I get the sense that a lot of us, and I've been guilty of this myself, which is why I included myself, kind of taking this group for granted because the biggest names are still very familiar. But there's a lot of different people involved in this. Starting 11, and the only way they're going to get together is by having them out there. Neither the offense nor the defense comes with a predictable set of circumstances here. It's not just, we'll just get going when we get going. Did any component of that secondary look okay to you the other night against the Texans? Any part of it? Name one player you thought did okay. All right, I'm making my point here. They have to get out there. Peyton Wilson, as exciting as he is, you need to see more. You need to find out why he faded in the second half. Did he get tired? Did he kind of get a little bit overwhelmed? Did he lose his way? Who knows? Who knows? Find out. This team's about to play a game against the Falcons in Atlanta that's going to mean something, and it'll never have had Patrick Queen standing next to Wilson. Has to change, has to be elevated into something more important than the second preseason game. All of this does. If I sound like I'm going a little bit over the top today, I'm going to leave you with this. Everyone keeps talking about the second half of the Steelers schedule and how scary it is and how every time you even look at it, there should be like the Jaws theme playing. When I look at it, what I think is, man, they better take care of business early on. That's when you're going to need to do your stacking of wins. You're not going to have some smooth segue and then hope that things get better, let's say, after the bye week. Because that's been the pattern in recent seasons. It's kind of through the first couple of months and then turn it on whenever you need to. That's not going to be this. Yes, the team's going to have to get better as the season goes on, but it can't afford to be throwing away W's in the interim. You have to win that game in Atlanta. Why? Because they're the Falcons. They're beatable. And because you're going to need it. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George. LGKG is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents people hurt in car accidents or who need help with workers' comp or medical malpractice. When the attorneys at LGKG make you a promise, they keep it. They've been keeping promises in our region for over 80 years. LGKG's been AV rated, the highest rating a law firm can receive, and they've been designated super lawyers. That's actually a thing for over 15 years. It's a rare combination. LGKG has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them by visiting lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. LGKG. Today's J1Q comes from Eli, who says, DK, I understand that it was the first preseason game and all, but the answers that some of the players gave to you for your material over the weekend sure sounded mediocre. Stuff like, we'll learn and we need to improve and we'll do better next time. Are these the types of answers that players used to give when making runs in the playoffs? On top of learning new systems, do they need to learn how to act like winners as well? Well, for anybody who doesn't know what Eli's referring to, I had a special edition of Daily Shot that came out Saturday following the game. I also wrote a full column for DK Pittsburgh Sports, quoted a lot of different players in both of those. And Eli's fair in describing them as being, we'll get there. This was a first step. It was important. We'll learn from it, and that's that. That said, I think my answer is going to surprise you a little bit and maybe disappoint you, but these guys actually took this more seriously than any of the good Steelers teams I've covered, meaning the ones that made the playoffs. Because the preseason for those guys was just a waste of time. It was a perpetual injury risk and nothing more. So they would answer stuff probably about 95% of the time, on a wild guesstimate here, like, it's preseason. Are you seriously asking me questions about preseason? Really? Really? That's what you'd get. The only question that would matter in that setting and circumstance was, did you make it out okay? Yep. All right, good. See you next week. But then that's the reason that I'm placing the emphasis that I am on today's program in general, on being much more serious about this one. But when I say that, I'm obviously not referring to the players. They're going to take it seriously. It's football. If you don't take it seriously, you're going to get broken in half like a twig. I'm talking principally about the decisions that Mike Tomlin makes both before and during that game. He needs to have his guys play. He needs to have his main guys play. Bring out the bubble wrap after that. This game, for anyone who hasn't looked ahead on the schedule, will be followed by one road game preseason in Detroit, after which there's a 2-week break. So anything happens to you, bumps and bruises associated with, all the stuff that Tomlin says after games, all of that, you've got 3 weeks to heal up. Go let it fly. Communicate. Expose the errors. Establish accountability. But more than anything, get your people where they need to go. If that means that you're doing some early giving away of who's going to win this spot or that spot, that doesn't matter nearly as much as having some semblance of preparation, some additional opportunities to dissect some film, and, not to make too much of this, which I've probably already done today, but, build up some confidence. Whatever you want to say about the whole 2023 preseason and Kenny Pickett's perfect passer rating and everything else, the Steelers didn't get their butts kicked by the 49ers in the opener because they went in overconfident. They got their butts kicked because San Francisco was a much, much better football team, as they'd end up proving over the course of the season and then making it all the way into the Super Bowl. That doesn't mean that it was a bad thing that the Steelers entered that game confident, which they did. They felt like they were ready to do some good things. You still very much want that. You want the Steelers to go into Atlanta feeling like they're good, like they should win that game, which, by the way, they should. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Heading out to Latrobe for another practice later this morning. We'll have another one of these shows tomorrow.